Hello, and welcome back to Mystic English. Today, I want to tell you the story of a man who brought light to the entire world, but whose own life was filled with darkness, struggle, and endless failure. He was half-deaf, called addled by his teacher, rejected again and again. Yet, he never stopped. Every failure became a new reason to try harder. And because he refused to quit, he gave the world inventions that changed human history forever. This is not just the story of a genius, it's the story of a fighter. A man who showed us that failure is not the end. It is the beginning of success. So stay with me till the very end. Because if you leave in the middle, you'll miss the one lesson from his life that could change how you see your own struggles. And if you enjoy stories that help you learn English, stay motivated, and grow as a person, make sure to subscribe to Mystic English. We don't just tell stories. We create lessons that help you speak better English and live a better life, one inspiring story at a time. This is the story of Thomas Alva Edison. How did a half-deaf boy from a small town become the greatest inventor in history? What did it cost him to change the world forever? The answers may surprise you, for this is not just a story of a genius, it's a story of a fighter, a man who refused to quit, even when everyone else told him to stop. It's a story that proves failure is not the end. It is the beginning of success. From his earliest days, his life was a testament to the power of a curious mind and an unyielding will. Thomas Edison was born on February 11, 1847, in the quiet town of Milan, Ohio. From the start, he was a curious child, different from the others. He always asked, "Why?" about everything, a question that was a constant and sometimes frustrating companion for his family. He loved to explore, to take things apart, and to understand how they worked. An early sign of the mind that would one day reshape the modern world. But his childhood was not easy. He was often sick with scarlet fever, a terrible illness that caused a major, lasting problem. It severely damaged his hearing. As he grew, he became more and more deaf, a condition that would isolate him in some ways but also sharpen his focus in others. While some stories claim a train conductor hit him on the ears, the truth is, the deafness came from his sickness, a silent burden he would carry his entire life. He struggled in school because his mind simply worked differently. He didn't like to just sit and listen to rote lessons. He wanted to do things, to touch, to experiment, to discover. One day, his frustrated teacher called him addled, meaning his brain was not working right. It was a terrible, unfair thing to say to a young boy. But his mother, Nancy Edison, was a teacher herself, and she believed in him more than anyone else. She was his first and greatest champion. She pulled him out of school and decided to teach him at home. This was a turning point that changed the course of history. Freed from the rigid classroom, Thomas was free to learn in his own way. He read voraciously, devouring books from his mother's library, especially those on science and technology. His basement became his first laboratory, a place where he could follow his endless curiosity without judgment. He didn't just read about science, he did it. He would read a book about chemistry, and then immediately set up his own makeshift lab to try the experiments himself. He spent hours mixing chemicals, watching how they reacted, and making his own discoveries. He was a student of the world, not just of books, and his hands were his most important learning tools. As a teenager, Edison knew he needed to make money, and he was as clever in business as he was in science. He got a job selling newspapers and candy on a train. But he didn't just sell things. He was a natural innovator. He saw an opportunity and seized it, setting up a small printing press and a baggage car. He started printing his own newspaper, called the Grand Trunk Herald. filling it with news and gossip from the railway route. He sold it to the passengers, and it was a huge success. He was a businessman and an inventor even then, a unique combination of a pragmatic capitalist and a dreamy innovator. His hearing loss grew worse, but it also became a strange kind of superpower. He learned to focus with an intensity few others could match. He could work in a noisy room full of distractions and not be bothered by the sound. He worked day and night, powered by a tireless energy and a desire to succeed. He became a telegraph operator, a difficult and demanding job that required perfect focus to send and receive messages over long distances. The work was difficult, but he was good at it, and this was his true training ground. He didn't just operate the machines. He studied them, he improved them, and he found ways to make them faster and more reliable. He made his first small inventions during this time. One of them was an automatic vote recorder. He thought it would be a huge hit, a machine that would let lawmakers and the government vote faster and more efficiently. He took his invention to Washington, D.C., full of hope and expectation, but the politicians were not interested. They told him they didn't want a faster way to vote. They wanted to take their time, to talk, to debate, to influence. Edison was crushed, but he learned a powerful, unforgettable lesson that day. Don't invent something people don't want. This failure didn't stop him. It taught him to be smarter, to be more strategic. From that day on, he decided he would only invent things that were not just clever but also useful, and that people would genuinely pay for. Edison's first big financial success came in 1874. He improved the stock ticker, a machine that sent prices of stocks over telegraph wires. He sold his improved machine for a huge amount of money, $40,000. This was a fortune at the time, and it was the key that unlocked his future. With this money, he built his famous laboratory in Menlo Park, New Jersey, the first of its kind. He called it his invention factory. It was not just a workshop. It was a place where many people, the best minds he could find, worked together as a team to create things. Edison believed in collaboration and relentless hard work. He famously said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." He believed that hard work was far more important than talent. The Menlo Park lab was a place of endless activity, with scientists and engineers working around the clock, fueled by Edison's vision and their own passion. In 1877, he had an idea for a machine that could record and play back sound. He was working on improving the telegraph, and a stray thought came to him. He drew a sketch, and his team immediately got to work building it. When they tested it, the machine spoke back to them. Edison's first recorded words were, "Mary had a little lamb." It was the phonograph, a machine so unbelievable that people could barely comprehend it. The world had never heard anything like it before, and it was a miracle. People called him the Wizard of Menlo Park. He was a superstar, an international sensation. But his biggest challenge, the one that would define his legacy forever, was still to come. The world was still dark at night. People used dangerous and dirty gas lamps and candles. Edison had a grand vision to give the world a safe, cheap, and long-lasting electric light bulb. He was not the first person to invent a light bulb. Many other inventors had created bulbs that worked for a short time. But Edison wanted to make a bulb that was practical, one that could light up a whole city, not just a small room. The biggest problem was the filament, the tiny wire inside the bulb that glows when electricity passes through it. It would burn out too quickly, making the bulb useless for commercial use. So Edison started to try everything. He tested thousands of different materials for the filament. He tried plant fibers, different metals, and even hair from a man's beard. Day after day, week after week, month after month, he and his team worked tirelessly. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Imagine this. You are working for months. You try something new every single day. Every day, it doesn't work. The filament burns out. The light lasts for only a few seconds. The project seems impossible, a dream that will never come true. Many people would have given up. But not Edison. He saw each failure as a step closer to the final solution. The failures were not setbacks, they were lessons. Finally, after 2 long years of continuous effort, in 1879, he found the answer. It was a simple piece of carbonized bamboo. When he put it in the bulb, it glowed steadily for over 200 hours. The world saw light. On New Year's Eve, 1879, he showed his light to the public at his laboratory. Thousands of people came to see the impossible. They were amazed. The age of electricity had begun, and Thomas Edison was its king. But the invention of the light bulb was just the beginning. The world now needed a way to get electricity to every home and factory. Edison created a system using direct current, or DC. It was simple and safe, but it had a major weakness. It could only travel a short distance from the power plant. Then, a new rival appeared, a brilliant and eccentric inventor named Nikola Tesla. Tesla had worked for Edison for a time, but they had a huge disagreement. Tesla believed in alternating current, or AC. AC could be stepped up to high voltages to travel over very long distances with little power loss, making it much cheaper and more efficient for big cities and wide regions. This started a bitter, dramatic battle known as the War of Currents. Edison was terrified that AC was dangerous. He launched a public relations war, trying to show the public that AC was risky and unsafe. He even used AC to electrocute animals to demonstrate its danger. And he helped create the electric chair using AC power, hoping to give it a bad name for good. But in the end, AC won. It was a more practical, cheaper, and better solution for the world. This was one of Edison's biggest mistakes, a moment where his stubbornness and pride blinded him to the superior idea. It showed that even the greatest minds can be wrong, and that innovation is a constant competition of ideas. Edison was also a tough, often difficult businessman. He was not always a nice boss, and he had many legal fights over his countless patents. People saw him as a hero, but he also had his critics. They said he took credit for the work of his team members and that he was too focused on money and fame. But for all his flaws, his work ethic was unmatched. He worked for 20 hours a day sometimes, sleeping only a few hours at a time. He was a man of action, not just words, and his hands were always covered in the grease of his latest project. His impact on the world is almost impossible to imagine. He received over 1,093 patents in the United States alone. His inventions gave birth to entire industries that still dominate our lives today. The phonograph led to the music industry. The motion picture camera, which he invented with his team, led to the film industry. He also improved the telegraph, the telephone, and the mimeograph machine, touching every part of communication and business. He was not just an inventor. He was a creator of systems. He didn't just invent the light bulb. He built the first electric power station to bring light to a whole neighborhood in New York City. He founded companies that became huge parts of our world today, like General Electric, one of the biggest companies in history. His ideas about using science and engineering to solve problems are still used today. He showed us the value of the team, of working together to find a solution. He built a system for inventing things on a large scale, not just a single product. He lived long enough to see his inventions become a normal part of life, a constant presence. In his later years, he continued to work tirelessly at his lab in West Orange, New Jersey. He was a hero to the American people, a symbol of American ingenuity and hard work. He met with presidents and kings, but he was always at his best in his lab. He continued his work, though his health was failing. He had more and more health problems as he got older, and his deafness became almost complete, sealing him off in a world of his own thoughts. He spent his final years with his family, still thinking about new ideas and improvements, still tinkering and experimenting until the very end. Thomas Edison died on October 18, 1931, at the age of 84. When he died, people around the world dimmed their lights for 1 minute to honor the man who had brought light to the world. It was a simple, beautiful tribute to a man who had changed everything. Thomas Edison gave the world light. He gave us a way to record sound and to watch moving pictures. He helped create the modern world as we know it. But his greatest gift was not the light bulb. His greatest gift was the lesson he taught us, that failure is not the end, it is the beginning of success. He showed us that the most important thing is to keep trying, to never give up, to learn from your mistakes, and to get up every time you fall down. Thomas Edison faced sickness, deafness, rejection, and thousands of failures. But what he never lost was persistence. And sometimes, persistence is enough to turn darkness into light. His story is a reminder that with enough hard work and a little bit of courage, you can achieve anything. If this story inspired you, please share it with someone who needs encouragement today. And don't forget to subscribe to Mystic English for more powerful stories that teach you English and life lessons together. We will meet again in the next video. Until then, take care of yourself and never stop working toward the future you deserve.